Hello everyone. For those of you who haven't heard of us, I'll tell you a little bit about Agfunder. We're an online venture investor. We started back in 2012, late 2012, with an idea to try and educate the market around technology coming into the agriculture space. We've expanded that out a little bit to include food now, so food tech is what we focus on. We're an investor. We basically, from last March, opened up our platform for our members to invest alongside us in our co-investment funds. And the idea being that we want to democratise venture capital as much as we possibly can, and by allowing people to invest as little as $25,000 in our funds, they get to co-invest in the best deals we're seeing globally. And the reason we're getting to see awesome deals is because of the network we've got. We've got 65,000 members on our platform, 5,500 investors, as you can see, and we're a high-velocity investor. We've made 20 investments in 16 companies since March last year, so we're getting on with it. One of the other things we do, obviously, is publish Agfunder News, which is the go-to source for information on food and ag tech, investing and innovation. But we also publish quite a lot of research. We started about 4 years ago with a year in review, doing a wind-up and a roundup of all of the investment that had taken place in the previous year. This year we've sort of broken that out a bit, and late last year, and we started to do regional reports. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the European report we published just about a month ago. So we spend a lot of time validating our data. We want to make sure that the information we're putting out into the market is as accurate as we can possibly make it. And so we heavily rely on our data partners. And I know there's Rabobank guys here, and I'm hoping Adam Anders from Antera's here. There he is, down the back. So we owe a great debt to our data partners. They do a fantastic job and help us out, so they need as much kudos as we get for producing the reports. So we've divided the categories of investment into two, being upstream and downstream, and very, very basically, upstream means everything that is pre-consumer. The only exception to that is innovative food, which, if you think of something like the Impossible Burger, which goes direct to the consumer from the producer, that gets caught in the upstream category as well. Downstream is everything consumer and retail. So if you get the report, you can sort of dig into the different categories and what we cover, but that's it in broad strokes. So last year, the big picture was $1.6 billion was invested across the agri-food technology supply chain. That was a 23% increase in deals, 421 deals, which was a record, which is a good result. Unfortunately, $1.6 billion was identical to 2017. Which is a disappointing result. It was very flat. 129 million was an outlier. Glovo, the Spanish food delivery platform, raised that, but that was the biggest deal that we saw for the entire year. So looking at across both categories in the total, it all started really back here in 2013 when Climate Corp was acquired by Monsanto. You can see a lot of excitement was generated by that transaction, showing here a bit of a disaster in 2016, and then two relatively fat years of $1.6 billion. Now, $1.6 billion is about 9.5% of the global amount of money that was invested. And when you consider that Europe accounts for 20% of agriculture GDP globally, we're betting at about 50%. So we need to really up that if we can possibly do it. More investment is needed, and it's needed urgently to keep innovation coming. So looking at upstream really drove the European investment landscape last year, almost $1 billion. That was a 200% increase on the year before, so a fantastic result. We're seeing a lot more farm-based technologies, a lot more in the supply chain. Interestingly, a lot more diversity in the deals that we're invested in, as opposed to, say, the European market, or the US market, or markets in China and India. That result was positive, not so much downstream. We think this was largely a result of some pretty big IPOs coming from the food delivery market. We saw Deliveroo also raised, I think, $385 million in 2017 as well, which meant that they didn't need to go back to the market. So there was, with that IPO and the large raises that had occurred before, there was less need for that sort of money. There's been a bit of a pullback from the delivery businesses as well, and a number of them have gone under. So it's sort of tread carefully is really the way people are looking at it. Overall deal activity, and by stage, the little yellow numbers are the number of deals that were funded at each stage, and obviously the green bars are the amount that was funded. Seed and Series A accounted for the vast majority, about 64% of all investment that was made were at Seed and Series A, and that's a good news story. You think about the downstream pipeline for investment. If we keep this up, and that's repeated again this year, those Series A and seed deals will be pushing on down the line to Series A, B, C, which means we've got a pipeline of deals coming through, which is very, very positive. Down the end again, disappointing. Interestingly, debt, $223 million, and that could be project finance, it could be convertible instruments, accounted for 50% of the global debt that was invested in technology companies last year. So debt is a strong market in the European market. Just looking at the breakdown of categories of technology, again you can see 18% in-store retail and restaurant tech. That's consumer-facing. VCs are always going to chase the big markets, and that's where the consumers sit. But as I mentioned before, a really nice spread and really nice diverse investment levels across ag biotech. You know, we're in Europe, the home of BASF, Bayer, people like that. So we expect to see strong biotech results here. Novel farming systems, obviously, Holland is the home of indoor ag. And France, more and more, the home of insect proteins. So we're seeing some good results in those particular categories, which are taking more money than they were in equivalent markets in, say, the US or China or India. I borrowed this from Louisa Burwood-Taylor, our head of media. I think it's a really sort of stark image on where Europe stands in the global fundraising stakes. You can see that 1.6 billion is pretty much dwarfed by the global number. And just really sort of highlights the amount of work that needs to be done in Europe. But there are reasons for that. You think about a market where no one speaks the same language. People are trying to struggle and to grow and to expand into markets where there's different cultures, there's different regulatory regimes, different compliance regimes. Sounds a bit like Australia, really, but Europe is that. So it makes it very, very hard to scale. So I think we've got a fight on our hands, but we're getting there. Things are moving forward. And here's a breakdown of major European countries, and you can see the Netherlands down there, 25 deals, $63 million. Could do better. And likewise, Australia, 40 deals, but 27 million. So we're even more focused on early stage companies. We've got a lot of accelerators that are pumping out very, very early stage deals. So we've got a long way to go as well. Interesting dichotomy here. The UK and France are the two markets that receive the least amount of government support for startups in agri-food tech. And down the other end are the ones that receive the most. So we've got something to work on there, something to think about, but we think finding a balance where we can get more engagement with the corporate sector whilst ensuring support from the public sector as well is going to be a good balance and something we should really be trying to achieve. Thanks for listening.
Michael, while you're here, can I ask you one quick question? Sure. What has impressed you in our tour this time? You did the tour last time.
I did.
What's changed that's impressed you?
Just the development. I think when we talk to everyone that we've spoken to who we saw last time, they've made material changes in what they're doing. I've just been impressed with everything, to be honest. I think there's so many lessons that we can take away. I couldn't pick anything really. I think Coppet today was really impressive. I just love that.
Yeah. Coppet Biologicals.
Coppet Biologicals, yeah. Yep. Fantastic.
Great. Thank you, Michael.
No worries.